Alright, welcome everyone. It's time to do something a little different today. And that is, the setup might be a little janky in the beginning, we're going to do a tier list. We're going to do Magic the Gathering tier list. Today it will be on 1-drops, but guess who's deciding the tiers? It's you guys! Yeah, we're going to let chat. The plan is simple. We're going to go through 1-drops in Modern, and you guys rank these 1-drops. And we see where they fall. We see where the community thinks, you know, you guys mention cards, and then we're gonna vote on them. So let's start this party off with Giver of Runes. Giver of Runes. So you might be wondering, okay, how do we determine the tiers? We determine the tiers like this. You are going to rank Giver of Runes between A, B, C, and D. And what ends up happening is if over 90% of you can choose A, then it goes into the S tier. If it doesn't reach that 90% threshold, then it just goes to A, B, C, or D. That's how I'm working it. You got it? You following me? Giver of Runes, one of the more... it was like the mother of runes for Modern. I mean, it might as well. Another target creature you control gains protection from colorless or from the color of your choice until end of turn. Now, cannot protect yourself, but can protect from colorless, which suddenly was actually quite a problem. So now all of a sudden creatures can have protection from like artifact creatures. You know, the constructs in the Modern metagame are a big deal. Also got protection from Mutavault, which was very, very annoying. I did not enjoy that at all. Mazement says, this is a B. Don't let yourselves get influenced by each other. Good morning, Masupi. Good morning. Good morning, Chris Ross. Good morning, Fish Fam. My first time here in the morning instead of after work. Ooh, it's true. True story. Richard says, I am biased here, but I think it is still quite good. This card is a very good 1-drop. And while you guys are voting on the current 1-drop, you might as well also suggest suggestions for other Modern 1-drops that we'll vote on next. So put your suggestions that we should vote on in the chat. Don't make them all super overpowered. Make them somewhere in the middle. You know, otherwise this tier list is all going to be super weighted towards A or whatever. And it looks like this particular Giver of Runes, you're a solid B. You're a super solid... Oh, what was I supposed to do? Okay, now while you guys will vote, I'm supposed to be downloading the picture to all this stuff. Then we go to our tier list. And then I go... And then we get the Giver of Runes. And we put you... Whoops. No, I don't want to go back. No. No. Do as I say. Like I said, this setup is going to be a little janky in the beginning. Alright, Giver of Runes goes to B. You're a solid B, Giver of Runes. Maybe I can make you bigger. We just cut you off at the bottom. Boop. Excellent. And now we go back. Okay, what's your next suggestion? What do we got next on the chopping block? Tieshaper! Oh, I love it. Community might be a little biased on this one. This is technically a 1-drop. It's absolutely a 1-drop. All right, 1 blue with kicker. When Tieshaper enters the battlefield, if it was kicked, target land becomes an island for as long as Tieshaper remains on the battlefield. Tieshaper gets +1/+1 as long as an opponent controls an island. Oops, hold on. Okay. Tieshaper, A, B, C, and D. I wish I could just repeat the polls. That would make things a lot easier. I need to get a third monitor to make this tier list show work the way I want it to. Otherwise, I'm like just flopping around a bunch of windows. This card was a game changer for Merfolk, and it might have even been a game changer also for Urza Saga, because if it wasn't for Tieshaper, maybe it would just completely take over the format. We wouldn't have merfolk to keep those Urza sagas in check. Should be told no enough. Does any deck outside of merfolk play Tieshaper? I don't think so. They rather play like Spreading Seas because you get that card draw out of it. Creatures, right? I think any permanent. You know, when we talk about a 1-drop, I think anything that is a permanent is going to qualify. Can we consider cantrips a 1-drop? I don't really. You know, when I say 1-drop, I don't feel like that's something you drop, right? It's not like when I play Preordain. I'm not really dropping that, but I am dropping the Tieshaper. This, by the way, isn't really a good 1-drop. This is like a good 2-drop. It's good on 2 mana. It's pretty garbage on 1 mana. So, I think that makes sense. Not a bowl. Yeah, Sigarda's Aid could, for example, be it. Expedition Map could be it. So, you got some good suggestions there. You got some good suggestions. But what does the community say? The community says this is going to be a C. This is a C. You know what? I really don't blame them. So we go get our Tieshaper. Whoops, nope. Okay, you go here. There we go. We get Tieshaper. We shrink down Tieshaper. We put Tieshaper here. Makes sense. Well, I think we gotta shrink this thing even further. All tucked away down there. Alright, another suggestion we had. Expedition Map. Expedition Map has been seeing, play since the dawn of time. The dawn of Modern. Making Modern Tron like an actual archetype for, you know, for as long as I've known Modern's existence. What other parts does it play? It now has been enabling the, what's it called? The Cabal Coffers deck. It's got like a real name to it. I just can't think of it at the moment. Okay, hold on. Let's change the... This is where a moderator would be great. It would be fantastic. Expedition Map, 1 mana. Pay 2, tap, sacrifice Expedition Map, search your library for a land card, reveal it and put it into your hand, then shuffle your library afterwards. This card even saw more play with the rise of Urza Saga. We saw decks that were just playing like a 1 of Expedition Map, so when you crack your Urza Saga, you can go find Expedition Map to go find another Urza Saga, because that sometimes is just a winning line versus, what's it called, like, versus control decks. I don't know how many times I played against control decks, and all I needed to do was make construct tokens. They just couldn't do anything about it. I mean, they had a hand full of counter spells, maybe some prismatic endings, a solitude, but they couldn't outgrind all the construct tokens. Jamestone, Tieshaper in C doesn't seem right to me. Feels like a solid B. But you know what? Tieshaper is a very bad 1-drop. I mean, you could argue it could be even lower. It's a very good 2-drop. I mean, it's like technically 1-drop, but only by technically. Chalice isn't a 1-drop unless Thalia or similar is in play, though. Yeah, I agree. I completely agree. Yeah, Urza Saga is a whole game plan unto itself with the Expedition Map. Expedition Map is fair and balanced. It was banned in Pauper, though. That was entertaining. Wow, you guys don't think this is that OP or anything like that. Only 51%. There was a good chunk of people at A. Now, some people are going to complain in the comments section, oh, should be using weighted averages, blah, blah, blah. No, we're not doing that. We ain't doing that. Alright, so Expedition Map. Did I download you? I gotta download you. And then I gotta upload you. You're a solid B. We're gonna shrink you down. You're gonna go right by Giver of Runes. I hope there's enough room near Giver of Runes. That B category is gonna get clogged up. I have foreseen it. All right, we've got Gustavo says Esper Sentinel. That is, you know what? This card showed way more play than I thought it was going to be. That's way more play. It ended up seeing play in like many types of affinity decks. Saw play in Hammer Time. Sees play in some. I don't know, does it see play in Death and Taxes? It was like it, but the card saw like way more play than I thought it was going to be. I saw it as like, you know, whenever an opponent casts their first non-creature spell each turn, draw a card unless that player pays X, where X is Esper Sentinel's power. But the power is garbage. The power, it's just a 1/1 creature. So like, how many people really want to play with a 1/1 creature in their deck? And I guess it just found a great home in the form of Hammer Time. I don't think this plays very well in like a soldier or human deck. And it's like more machine than man. Is there an S tier? There is absolutely an S. We absolutely have an S tier here. See? The only way to get into S tier, though, however, is you need to vote on A by 90%, so that we've set the bar really high for A. Because that's how it should be. That's how it should be. In my opinion. It's a human as well. It's a human soldier that's an artifact. But it's like Darth Vader. Look, it's just Darth Vader. Plus the T-1000 from the Terminator. It's just a solid card that is also randomly an artifact, which is something you can never discount. Yeah, you can blow it up with artifact destruction. Michael Allen chimes in, Tieshaper is a 2-drop unless you play against blue, who doesn't use Saga. Also, I would say it's A tier against Saga and Tron. Yeah, you're right. But outside of that, it does not hold up enough. You know what's one thing that people didn't we didn't talk about with Tieshaper was that it's a 2/2 versus the control decks, which is not bad. It's convenient for a 1-mana 2/2 versus control decks that already have islands. That's good stuff. It is a heuristic study with legs. Do you pay the 1, or do you sometimes pay the 11 if you've got the hammer on it? I have been in that situation. Would you like to pay 11? And I'm like, no, absolutely not. The last thing I want to do is pay 11. All right, what do we got chat saying? Chat says it is A tier. A beautiful, beautiful A tier Esper Sentinel. So we go to our tier list. We get our tier. This is the first one that's an A tier. I don't want to mess this too much. Congratulations, Esper Sentinel. You belong in Modern, and you're a good, strong card. Good stuff. What am I doing? Here we go. Okay, next up. Ragavan and Dragon Rage Chandler. Well, we can't have both of them. How about we look at Dragons? We'll look at Dragon's Rage Chandler. The non-fixed one. What are we doing? We're ranking the 1-drops, modern 1-drops on a tier list. It's a new format on Coffee and MTG. All right, Dragon Rage Chandler. I actually hate this card. For me, personally, as a deck that doesn't play a lot of removal, this is like my worst nightmare. Because all this does, because you surveil every single time you play a non-creature spell, so you're guaranteed to draw a gas every single turn. If my opponent has Dragon Rage Chandler, it is like impossible for them to flood out. Just absolutely, absolutely impossible. Go. It's DRC slips under the radar to most people because Murktide is what beats your face in, and in some cases also Ragavan is sucking up all the spotlight. Oh, it's like because Ragavan can spiral out of control as well, be thanks to its mana advantage and how it can like cast spells from the top of your library. But I think this is worse. I think this is like guaranteed value. Like you can guarantee that you're gonna draw something good off the top of your deck. Ragavan doesn't always draw something good off the top of your deck, especially if you're completely off color from them. Like if you're playing an Abzan deck that's on double white, double black, double green spells. Well, good luck, Ragavan. You aren't going to do anything in that environment. Which do you hate more? Dragon Rage Chandler. It's not even close. I don't even care about Ragavan at this point. Ragavan can brick and blank, and you can only have one Ragavan on the board at one time. You can have 4 Dragon Rage Chandlers on the battlefield. This is just significantly worse in my opinion. It's not even close. Best card in Modern? Whoa! Who can agree with Lewis on this statement? That's a strong statement. It's a very strong statement. Spencer Ward says DRC may be better than Ragavan. It's just uncommon, so it doesn't have that $80 price tag to shine a spotlight on it. That's true. People can't get as upset about Dragon Rage Chandler. Anyone can own a Dragon Rage Chandler for a whole $2. I'd rather play against Rag than DRC as Fish. Completely agree. If you're a deck that does not if you're a deck that does not have removal, well, you're screwed. A solid A. Super solid A. All right, let's go to our tier list. Let's put our Dragon Rage Chandler on the tier list. Scooge, get a little cozy up in there with the Esper Sentinel. Alright, which one's next? Who are we going over next? It'll be the first one drop that I see. Ephemerate is not a 1-drop. It's a 1 mana spell. We're gonna classify 1-drops as permanents. Graveyard? You mean Gravecrawler? Or is there a Graveyard Crawler? There might be a Graveyard Crawler. No, there isn't. It's got to be Gravecrawler. Gravecrawler! Gravecrawler is the next one up. Now, Gravecrawler actually has seen a lot of tier 0 play, believe it or not. Whenever you see a I think maybe it doesn't look like much, but actually Gravecrawler always sees play in tier 0 decks, or decks that get insanely busted. Where has it seen play? It has seen really good play in Dredge, in Hogak, in like Bridgevine decks, in what else? Crabvine. Maybe I'm not gonna say the Hogakless deck counts, because Hogak is, well, it's not the real thing. We'll just put it that way. What about Amulet of Vigor? Those all can be candidates. Hey, you guys make the suggestions, then we vote on it. Let's see how many we can get through in the next hour. But don't worry, this is going to be a regular feature on Coffee and MTG. We're gonna create some tier lists. We're gonna create a lot of tier lists. And you let me know if it's fun or not. Hopefully it's engaging. So for a creature that can't block and you sort of need to make a zombie deck, this has seen a lot of play. It's been exiled out of Dredge recently because I guess they just have too many good cards. But the last time I remember seeing this monster was in the Hogak deck. Zombie combo blue-black with Rooftop Storm, really fun. You know what? It's really good in zombies. If there's definitely a zombie deck out there that no one is playing, that is definitely worth it. Gravecrawler is a pretty fair... It is... You know what? It is a very fair card for the decks that it has been put in. People are voting on Vexing Devil. Well, yeah, we need something to go into the D tier. Alright, you guys have voted B. It's gonna be B. Alright, we got Gravecrawler gonna be on B. So we go get our tier list. We get our Gravecrawler. We gotta scoot you up, shrink you down, put you right next to an expedition map, and chop you down for size. Excellent. I think that was a very fair judgment. Alright, Monastery Swift Spear. Monastery Swift Spear, seen play in... I mean, this is a multi-format all-star. This could get banned in Pauper, as far as I'm concerned. Swift Spear. This has been a staple in the burn decks, in Delver decks. What is the history of Swift Spear? Okay, so it's been a staple of burn decks the moment it was printed. Like ever since Khans of Tarkir. It has been seen in the Blue-Red Delver Treasure Cruise deck. It has seen play in a Blue-Red Prowess deck. A Mono-Red Phoenix, I think in a Mono-Red Phoenix deck? Yeah, I think the Mono-Red Phoenix. It has seen play in... It's like, honestly, I think this card is way too pushed. I think the 2 toughness was stupid. A 1 mana prowess creature, okay, that's fine. Haste, that's damn dangerous. Like, I think I'd be more fine with it being like a 0-1 or something like that. Or at least a 1-1. The 2 toughness made it a little bit way too damn good. Made it really hard to block this creature. And it would probably still see play even with 1 toughness, but because it has 2, because of that damn 2 toughness, it ended up seeing like play in all the tier 1, tier 0 decks. Just joined. Has Thoughtseize been discussed yet? Nope, because we're looking at 1-drop permanents. Do we really feel like, you know, Thoughtseize is a 1-drop, Inquisition's a 1-drop, Ephemerate's a 1-drop, Lightning Bolt's a 1-drop? I feel like I gotta drop something when we're gonna play a 1-drop. Although I don't know the actual definition of what a 1-drop is now that I think about it. I'm thinking really hard. If you're on the draw and you see a spear slap down, I wouldn't blame you for second guessing that fetch land in your hand. Or the shock lands. Oh man, when I'm on the draw and I see a Swift Spear, I'm just in pain. Especially if I see a Boros land. I'm like, oh, okay. This is their bread and butter for those burn decks. This is how the burn decks win. 1-drop is a permanent, you're right. Okay. Well, I'm not saying that I'm right or wrong. I don't know for sure, to be honest. Solid A tier. Solid A tier. Alright, beautiful. Put you off to the side. Did I download you? I have now. We go to our tier list. Oh man, I need a 3rd monitor so bad. You can cozy up right next to the Dragon Rage Chandler. Right next to Dragon Rage Chandler. Beautiful. Okay, this is the one I see. Hardened Scales. Yeah, Fufu loves the robots. Now, this was a card. Is it true that Magic Aid's made like the Hardened Scales deck? I've never really actually looked into the history to make sure that he was the absolute first person. He didn't get inspired by anything else, but he does like building around cards. You know, when there's a new card, he will just jam all the most obvious cards around it and see if it makes a deck. 99% of the time, it doesn't really work. But that 1% of the time, it does work. And so this was a card that created its own archetype. Its own complete archetype. It's funny, people are just jamming out more of their suggestions than discussing the card at hand. This card has, however, seen absolutely no play outside of Hardened Scales, I think. I think this is the only deck that plays it. When did Commanders become a thing? That's a good question. I don't know. It's been around since 2010, since I got back into the game, or 2009, so Commander has been around for a while. What will push to S tier? Yes, you need a 90% majority in A tier to hit S tier. Excellent question. You need 90%. Baldur is a huge fan of this card. This is a fun card. I played a little bit with this in Merfolk for Pioneer, because, you know, we've got a lot of the green Merfolk that put counters on it, like Branchwalker and Jade Light Ranger and stuff like that. So it's a super fun card. Just build up your creatures up to, like, massive amounts. And it looks like we got a C tier. All right, Hardened Scales, you get to be with what's it called? You get to hang out with Tieshaper over there. Hang out with the Tieshaper. Enjoy. Alright, okay, so a lot of people are mentioning... Okay, how about Colossus Hammer? It's a great one. I'm curious to know what people are going to think about this one. Because it is, like, a really narrow card. It is a strong card, obviously. It made an entire archetype by itself. But, you know, is it, like... How do you tier this thing? Because it's only good in one deck. It is not proven to be good in any other deck except the deck that it's good in. But still it can still one-shot kill you. Get you on turn 2. Would Chalice of the Void count as a 1-drop? Nope, it's a 0-drop. It's a 0-drop or a 2-drop or a 4-drop or a 6-drop. Can't play it on any you can't play it on any odd numbers. Not gonna happen. Hammer is difficult because only one deck plays it, yes, but it's quite the hammer, isn't it? Hey, does anyone remember those Hammer Shapiro shows? It's commercials. I'm Jim, the Hammer Shapiro. I'm surprised no one's tried to, like, modify this with that lawyer. This may only apply to people in the United States or Canadians that ended up seeing that commercial nonstop. Aaron says, I say B for Hammer. Only used in one archetype, but it makes a very strong archetype. The Hammer Bros. Oh, that's a good artist altar for, I think, for Colossus Hammer. That'd be cool. Are we only doing 1-drops? Yes, there's a million different tier lists that you can make. We gotta be specific. For the clickbait. We have to be specific. Look, we can have a tier list every single week. Just give me... By the way, give me good topics. So I was on Twitter and Facebook. Sorry, yeah, I'm sorry. I was Twitter on YouTube, and I asked, hey, what kind of tier list can we make? And people are like, the best of, the worst of. But the problem is the best of and worst of don't make good tier lists. Because it's all... Either everything's going to be at, like, A tier to S tier, or D tier and C tier. Well, tons of people have said Aether Vial, but it's never up on the screen the moment that... Ooh, this is close. It's close between B and C, and it's gonna end on B, I think. I think it was B. Yeah, B1. Okay, Colossus Hammer. You win the prize. If we can call it that. What's a good one here? Amulet of Vigor. I like that one. Another narrow card, but outrageously busted. This also has seen play in basically one deck. The Primeval Titan deck. But has seen good play. And also this deck is still around. This deck has been around since like the beginning of Modern. And as you guys decide on the Amulet of Vigor, we'd love to thank our sponsors, FusionGamingOnline.com. Your one-stop shop for all your single needs. You need Magic singles? Well, they're selling Magic singles. And also Deal of the Week. Save 15% off all core set singles. What? Why is it save 15% off all core set singles? Oh, is Revised a core set? Does that count? I guess so. That's a pretty big deal. That's reserve list cards that you can get for 15% off at FusionGamingOnline.com. Do not forget to use the coupon code, though, to get an additional 5% off all your purchases. We're also going to thank Mana Traders, the premier place to rent Magic cards online, to play any deck, any format you want, anytime that you want. I've been playing Pauper recently, because I can just jump in because I have a Mana Traders account. You just feel like playing a new format, go for it. You rent the cards, then send them back and play play something else, and play something new. You can support the channel using my Mana Traders link in the description below, or save 10% off your first 2 months using coupon code Nikachu_9Y6. And back to Amulet of Vigor. Again, first thing I see when I come back, ban Amulet of Vigor. Amulet gets cards banned regularly. S tier. Alright, it's a close one, but people think it's more A tier than B tier. Alright, so it's gonna end off on A tier. And we've got our tier list. We have our Amulet. Goes to show how many good cards there are in this format. Many good cards. Great cards. Path to Exile is not a permanent. This one's banned, so we're not going to go with that one. We'll go with... You know what? Let's do one that I saw many times. I think this is a great one to look up. Death's Shadow. The Death Shadow. Nothing escapes the Death Shadow. This is a card that was terrible. This card had to prove itself over many years, and it was actually funny. A card needed to get banned for this card to get better. This is a card that... So Gitaxian Probe got banned, and Death Shadow was thrown into like a Death Shadow Zoo deck at the time. It played Step Links. It played Wild Nicodle. It's wild, huh? Like Step Links, Wild Nicodle, they're useless. They see no play these days. But it was mixed in with Death Shadow, which was like their main beatdown creature. But it used things like Mutagenic Growth and Gitaxian Probe to lose your life, in addition to the fetch lands and the shock lands. But when they banned Gitaxian Probe, people were like, well, this deck can't be good anymore. And one person by the name of Ghash77, he went out and set out to make a better Death Shadow deck by just putting Death Shadow in Jund. That was basically it. It was just Death Shadow, Tarmogoyf. There was one upgrade. I think Traverse the Ulvenwald at the time was an important tutor to help consistently find your Death Shadows and Tarmogoyfs. And, I mean, yeah, that was a game changer. This was a great example of a card that got better when they... Deck innovation got better when a card got banned. Same thing happened to Storm. Storm lost Gitaxian Probe and they went the Gift Storm route. Is Black Vise even modern legal? Sumerian Robot says, I play Wild Nicodle. Some people are still playing Wild Nicodle. This might be just me, but the finished poll for Hardened Scales says 40% and B for 39% for C. Oh, so this Hardened Scales is supposed to be higher? Did I scam Hardened Scales? I think I scammed Hardened Scales. It was when I called it. It was C. I might be wrong though. Maybe it was close. Maybe it was close. All right. Ooh, Death Shadow, solid A. And you know what? It belongs there. It belongs on solid A. Some people think it's B. I think you guys are fools. I think it's a solid. You could argue this is S tier. This should be S tier. This is, if there's a card so far we've mentioned today that's S tier, it's Death Shadow. Mainly off of the back of the fact that it says play in Legacy, for crying out loud, and it has always been a tier deck in Modern. Helped push like Lurrus over the top. I would argue that it helped get Lurrus banned. I would argue that. We're getting all the S tier cards here. Sorry, the A tier cards. We're getting all the A tier cards out of our system. Pithing Needle. That's a very flexible card, isn't it? Pithing Needle. As Pithing Needle enters the battlefield, choose a card name. Activated abilities of sources with the chosen name can't be activated unless they are mana abilities. Sorry, can't be activated unless... Activated abilities of sources with the chosen name can't be activated unless they're mana abilities? Huh? Oh, sorry, okay, so it's saying like anything but the activated ability. Somehow I was reading this as if you can only name mana abilities. I'm like, what? This is not how this card works. This is not how this card works. You know, the solid sideboard card for the history of all that is history. Doesn't see play in every sideboard, though. Really good utility, though, with Urza Saga these days. Some funny stories with Pithing Needle. There have been many stories where, like, the, what's it called? The, someone will go to the judge and then say, like, I need to talk to you away from the table. And they come back and then they say, okay, I can do that, right? I can do that. And then they go, Pithing Needle, Birds of Paradise. And then they pass the turn. Of course, Birds of Paradise is not supposed to be locked down by the Pithing Needle, but then it can sometimes fool some opponents into never tapping the Birds of Paradise for mana ever again. It's pretty nutty that it can be main deck in Saga decks. Well, of course, it's a tutor. That's what's going to be the downfall of Urza Saga. Mark my words. That is the downfall of Urza Saga. It is going to be the, it's going to be the fact that it can tutor things for 0 mana. Nothing. Absolute nothing. Needle is a multi-format all-star. How does the new Infinity stickers renaming cards affect Needle? It will give it a new name and it will get around Pithing Needle. That is canon now. That has been confirmed. Hard confirmed. B. Solid B. Right there in the middle. You can't argue with being B. Pithing Needle, you can't argue with being B. I have used Pithing Needle many times myself. Solid B. Also a multi-format all-star. We're running out of space around B. We gotta squish you. Can you even see it? You're off screen, for crying out loud. I didn't even see that things are getting off screen. All right. Like I said, it's a little janky. Okay, how about this? Hold on. Here, we can do this. You just see all my software in between. It's a janky setup for the first few tier lists until I get like a 3rd monitor and then whatever, and set this up better. Okay, let's get one of the better ones out here. Ragavan. Let's get the stinky monkey. Stinky, stinky, stinky monkey. Ragavan, Nimble Pilfer. Now remember, some people think this is like one of the most busted cards in the format. This has been compared to Deathrite Shaman, for crying out loud. Whereas, you know, with Deathrite Shaman, it gave you an extra mana. It was like a mana ramp spell. Now, Ragavan is something that's even better than mana ramp because you don't even have to use the mana. You can store the mana. Like, saving for a rainy day. It basically gets to put in your little savings bank. Savings account. If this doesn't get S tier, I lost all hope for our ability to vote. Or maybe I just have to lower the standard for what gets into S tier. I don't know, maybe it should be 80%. Z tier. Ragavan's worse than Dragon Rage Chandler. What do you guys think? Is Ragavan worse than Dragon Rage Chandler? I mean, it might be the case. Like, I personally hate Dragon Rage Chandler because, like, I just don't have enough removal to deal with it. Ragavan I can block easily. I can't block Dragon Rage Chandler so easily. It's a flyer. So between the two, I'd much rather be up against Ragavan than Dragon Rage Chandler. It's not even close. Whereas Thoughtseize, not a 1-drop. It's a one mana value spell, but you don't attack with Thoughtseize out there. Ragavan is turn 3 is not a good play most of the time, but it's not bad. You can if your opponent's tapped out and you've cleared the way, you can dash it onto the battlefield. That's its like main, like it gets around sorcery speed removal like that. Make no mistake, dash is actually pretty good. The fact that you have to bounce it back to your hand at end of turn is actually it's a feature, not a bug. I found when I was playing with Prismatic Ending in my Merfolk deck, I'm like, I can't kill this thing. It's just never on the battlefield. How did 3% people say it's D tier? Some people are being very silly. The metagame is shifted towards Ragavan decks without turn 1 answers can't compete. Come on, people, can we like push this to 90% so we can have our first S tier card? There's too many B tier and A tier cards on this list. Shadowborn Apostle. Alright. Hopefully the poll ends at 90%. And... suspense. 89%? F it, I'm putting it S tier anyway, I don't care. This is my show, I can do whatever the hell I want. If you're not S tier, I don't know what is. I mean, you're banned in Legacy, for crying out loud. You're banned in Legacy. Okay, here's our first S tier. I tried to stop the count. It didn't work. Not the way I thought it was gonna be. Vexing Devil, DRT, let's go. Alright, Vexing Devil. Has this seen any legitimate play in Modern at all? I don't think so. I don't think so. It has seen a lot of play in Modern because we know the ponies, they love this card. This is such a pony-esque card. %9 is hard. Maybe for future tier lists, maybe I'll lower the bar to like 80%. Okay, people are just trolling. Look at the numbers right out of the gates. 48%. Okay. Oh, it's like really polarized. Some people are trying to push it above. A tier was like really high for a second, but now it's becoming something more sensible. Unable to click F tier, yeah. Where is Palpatine? Yeah, where is Palpatine? I don't think I have Palpatine set up for... Oh, I guess this sort of works. There we go, we have Palpatine. S stays for stink? No, S is for... I don't know actually why the tiers are called what they are. But that's just how it is. Alright, 45% say Vexing Devil. Doesn't even belong to be even in the discussion. Alright, Vexing Devil, enjoy your being tucked away down there. All alone, forever alone, the Vexing Devil. Forever alone. S is for superior, that's what it means. We already did Dragon Rage Chandler. Didn't you see the tier list? I'm looking for 1-drops. Hedron Crab. That actually has seen very real play. You know, I mean, that used to be part of a super pony deck called the Mill deck. And now, the Mill deck actually is a reasonable deck. Who would ever thought that Mill actually would be an archetype in Modern? But that's the world that we live in right now. But there was a time, Mill, if you played against a Mill deck, you're like, wow, that guy knows absolutely nothing. They're a complete beginner to the game. Welcome to the local, this must be their first time at a local game store. Nothing screamed more, this is my first time at a local game store, than playing against the Mill player. Very, very rarely did someone stick it through and play Mill every single week at the LGS. Because they actually thought the deck could compete. That was the type of deck that just got stomped really hard. But with massive upgrades, including a second... So they got a second Crab, then they got things like Tasha's Hideous Laughter, which I think exiled a lot of stuff. Was it Tasha's Hideous? Is this the one that... Yeah, this is exiled, so you could get around Emrakul. Each opponent exiles cards from the top of their library until that player is exiled. Cards with total mana of value 20 or more. And this card also by itself can just mill a huge chunk of someone's deck. But and I think that's the way that Mill would become like more playable, is if the mill cards, instead of dumping them into the graveyard, they now exiled them. I think that's the design space that needs to be explored. That would really make mill a very serious, dangerous deck. Crabs are really important in mill. It's a recurring, yeah, it's like recurring damage, absolutely. How fitting is that? The crab is at C tier. How fitting. C for crab. Crabby, crabby. Maybe I have to make this tier list more vertical so I can just plop the card down and then move on. Oh, did you guys even see that? Yeah, you can see it. Good. Excellent. Good stuff. Moving on. Next one drop. Not the stupid ones. Ether Vial. Okay. That's fair. That is a one drop. And it's also a pretty popular one drop. Seeing play in humans, merfolks, spirits. What else? Name all the tribes. Goblins. Goblins it sees play. We're not done there, though. It's not just that. What else? I'm missing some tribe or something. That, I knew it. I knew I was missing something. I could feel it. It's like instinct. Just like how when you're about to leave your home and you know you're forgetting something, you just don't know what it is, but you can't think of what it is. So you just leave without it. And then you got that feeling just lingering on with you. Does anyone else get that feeling? I get that feeling all the time. It's such a strong instinct. This one is actually S tier. It might have been S tier. And, you know, if we did this poll at the rise of humans, when humans was super popular back in 2017-ish, 2018, this probably would get S tier easily. But these days, there's not any tribal deck that's taking over. And also, Ether Vial is very vulnerable to Prismatic Ending. I mean, it used to be indestructible versus the control decks, and now they have a solid answer to this thing. Prismatic Ending has completely changed the evaluation of a lot of these cards. You don't need to play it in tribe decks, just creature dense decks. That is true. Vial would have been S tier pre-Modern Horizons 2. Yeah, dies to Prismatic Ending. A tier, WTF, this card is getting cut from most tribe decks. Prismatic Ending in March, eat this card alive. I don't think it's really that cut. I mean, you still should play it anyway. I think it's still a very good card. I mean, it's still the Soul Ring of Modern. It's very comparable to Soul Ring. And some people have argued it's better than Soul Ring. Much better than Soul Ring. I think it's well deserving. Running out of room on A tier, people. We gotta stop suggesting A tier cards. Or I gotta shrink the cards down even more. I guess I should just do that. That works. You guys know what this is. You guys can see it. We don't need the picture. Picture's overrated. Control decks that gain Prismatic Ending and March is a failure for a balance thing. It's a failure for a sideboard card thing. Like, it's a horrible failure for sideboard cards. Because you don't need sideboard cards now that you have those. Noble Hierarch, I love it. Oops. I don't remember how to spell Hierarch. Oh, there's two Hierarchs. No, I want the noble one. Our noble fellow. This card has seen so much play. In basically fair decks and unfair decks. That go as far back to... I mean, it's been just a solid card, period. In Modern's history. I remember... I mean, it's seen play in things like... You know... In fact, it has seen play in decks like... Bant Eldrazi. Does anyone remember Bant Eldrazi? With... they played Eldrazi Displacer. Oops. Yeah, there's Eldrazi Displacer. What else? They played Drowner of Secrets or Drowner of Hope? No, Drowner of Secrets. Sorry, I'm doing it again. Drowner of Hope. Man, that was a long time ago. How do they ramp into this? A combination of Eldrazi Temple, but also Noble Hierarch. This card used to make me cry. Used to be really expensive. Now it's pretty affordable. You look at the prices here. $11, $10. This used to be like a solid $35 card because it was just so much. It was so important. Yeah, you could ramp out turn 2 Matter Reshaper easily. I remember Bant Eldrazi when they would target Master of Waves with Displacer and not like the outcome. I do not remember that. Maybe that happened to me once or twice, but not too often. They learn pretty quickly. Well, people still think this is A tier. This card doesn't see nearly as much play as it used to. I actually don't think it's as A tier as it used to be. Like, it's been a huge part of Modern's history, but recently, in the last, I would say 2 years, it's been replaced by Utopia Sprawl. I think it's been clearly displaced by Utopia Sprawl. I would be more in the B category here for this card. But yeah, anyway, it's understandable though still to get the A tier. Very understandable. Do we have room? Because you guys can see this? I think you can see this. What can you see? Yeah, you can see this. Okay, scooch over, guys. We need more room here. We need more room in A tier. Maybe if we did this, a pauper version of this, it'd all be C and D tier because it's all crummy cards. It's all rubbish. Rubbish cards. Abundant Growth. Is that how we want to spend the second half of this? Okay, Abundant Growth has seen play in almost no decks except like elementals. Is there another deck outside of it? I don't think so. Enchant land. When Abundant Growth enters the battlefield, draw a card. Enchanted land has tap, add 1 mana of any color. Now, the key part about it is that it enters the battlefield and it draws a card. So it has great synergy with Yorion. You go grab your Yorion, you play the Yorion, and basically you draw a card off of this thing. The art is S tier for sure. Are people seeing things I'm not? It's the only art that's available. Fixed Arkham's Astrolabe. Well, not really. I don't really see it that way. I mean, I guess it's more narrow because Arkham's Astrolabe can be played in any deck, but Abundant Growth can only be played in the green decks. How is Growth not A tier? It's a lame card. Like it's a pretty narrow card. Well, C tier. I didn't expect it to be that low. That's crazy. All right, C tier it is. But I'm willing to end the poll right there because this is a lame. I think this is a lame card to look at. Not to offend any of the Abundant Growth aficionados out there. Slam that Abundant Growth directly into C tier. Good job, Abundant Growth. Remember, we're talking 1-drops today. 1-drops being 1 mana permanence. Goblin Guide. That's a staple. But I tried to play this in an actual Goblin deck, and it it was like okay, but I thought it was bad because the game just doesn't last long enough. The game, the longer the game goes, the worse it gets. Oh, Carlos with the super chat. When are we going to do hot takes in Commander? Someday. We will do that someday. What kind of hot takes do you have, Carlos? Give me a hot take that would motivate me to make such a devote a day to Commander. That's, you know what? You help me. I like that. Hot takes in Commander. That's a good one. We could have a hot takes like sort of theme on this channel. All right, Goblin Guide. A, B, C, and D. Reserve list cards should be banned in Commander. Yeah, that's a hot take. But I mean, they can just make another format without them. I think they should make another format without them. That would make it affordable. Or they just make it like, you know, how they make Legacy, where they cut it off at it, like they cut the sets off at a certain point. Like they can cut it off at Masks block. Masks block was when they stopped having reserve list cards. But they could just ban all the cards, but it'd be awkward. Like, it'd be hard to keep track of every single card that was reserve list. There are some that are obvious, but there are some that are not so obvious. So anyway, Goblin Guide. When it attacks, defending player reveals the top card of their library. If it's a land card, that player puts it into their hand. I would not be surprised if this card was one of the single most... I don't want to say like people are cheating with Goblin Guide, but I would not be surprised if Goblin Guide was privy to the most game rule violations that go unnoticed. Because a pretty typical player that picks up Burn is just someone who's playing it for the first time, or is, you know, just borrowing a deck, or they're new to the game. So it's sort of like a beginner deck in that way. And they miss their triggers all the time. This happened to me in so many Grand Prix where I can tell my opponent is just sloppy and new with the deck, so I'm not going to give them a hard time, but they attack with Goblin Guide and don't announce the trigger, and I just sort of stare at them for 5 seconds, and then I'm like, okay, Goblin Guide trigger, and they're like, yes. It's as if I have to acknowledge the thing. Like, sometimes they remember, but most of the times they don't. Same thing with Eidolon the Great Revel. So there's that bonus on top of that, where a burn player, an inexperienced burn player, will get a massive advantage, especially against another inexperienced opponent who won't remember the trigger, and they just have like basically a 1 red 2/2 haste creature with no downside. Although, being able to see the top of their library is valuable to the burn player. That's not nothing. They can eventually sculpt exactly what's going on in their hand. Wizards of the Coast is great. Grappling. I'm guessing this is grappling the wallets of Commander players. Amazing wallet. I love Goblin Guide. Yes, I'll take some lands, please. Yes, please help me curve out Goblin Guide. Something's wrong with my poll. Are you guys voting? I can't see the poll results. I can't see anything. How do I refresh this? Reload. Please reload. Is there a poll at all? Are you voting? No poll? Okay, I'm gonna do this again. We can talk more about Goblin Guide. I'm not done talking about Goblin Guide. It is a very interesting card. So I played it in Goblins, and it was just terrible. It was just terabad. Because all it did was my Goblin deck wasn't fast enough. Like, it was going to turns 5, 6, 7, and 8. And, like, in that scenario, Goblin Guide is just giving my opponent free cards for nothing. And I'm helping them dig to their, like, good resources. So, I found that Goblin Guide was not good in a Goblin deck. Is just much better in a burn deck where you don't care if they get card advantage because you don't expect them to live in the long run anyway. And it is unique in that, like, yeah, they reveal the top card of their library, but remember, like 2/3 of the time they're going to reveal a non-land spell, right? So they just end up revealing cards from the top of their library for nothing. It's not to their benefit, so that actually gives more information to the burn player. Carlos with the super chat. Thanks so much for the $5. I think that Rule 0 is a joke in Commander, and more casual players are the worst Salt Lords to play against. But it sounds like you should not be playing with those super casual players. That's what it sounds like. But I agree, actually. I am in the camp that Rule 0 makes no sense to me. And that's why we have ban lists. And I'm not saying we should ban it. We should be unbanning stuff from the regular Commander list, but there should be a second format at this point that maybe appeals to everybody. You get rid of all the fast mana, you get rid of like all the reserve list cards, make it affordable. You just have like Commander version 2, and then people can choose what they want to play. If they want to play the unhinged, unbanned version of Commander, go for it, do it. But if you want to play something sane, don't. Alright, B tier. Solid. You know what? That's fair. That's fair for Goblin Guide. Scooch over, Pithing Needle. Here. Scooch you over. You guys can see this? You can now. We already did Colossus Hammer. Look, it's over here in B tier. Analyze the tier list, people. Analyze the tier list. I think we have time for one more. Stitcher Supplier. We gotta speed run this if we want to get another one. Stitcher's Supplier. This has, some people have actually called this one the Ancestral Recall of Modern, because in the right deck, especially in the Hogak deck, this essentially drew 3 cards. A lot of you guys don't know what a 1-drop is. These are not 1-drops. Need to be a permanent. My DRC is not tier 1. I don't know. You know, probably... not everyone thinks Dragon Rage Chandler is a threat. It's a threat to Merfolk players, but outside of that, no. So to Stitcher Supplier in a graveyard deck, it essentially does a lot. You know, enters the battlefield or dies, put the top 3 cards of your library into your graveyard. And then if it blocks something, which is good for a graveyard deck, if it needs to buy the time to build up its resources in the graveyard, it adds another 3 cards. So it's basically 1 mana, dump 6 cards into your graveyard. And if nothing else, you can attack with it. Stitch Supplier is very strong. I don't trust it when I see it on the opponent's side. Oh yeah, your opponent is definitely trying to do something dangerous. Absolutely dangerous. All right, Chris Ross here with the history. S tier may mean special or super, or the Japanese word for exemplary, and originates from the widespread use in Japanese culture of an S grade for advertising and academic grading. Okay, excellent. We now know what S tier means. We just always assumed it meant good. It was great. Alright, let's get through this one. We'll do Relic next. B. Solid B. Right next to Goblin Guide. I have a feeling Relic is going to be B or something, though. Relic of Progenitus. Another, like, sideboard all-star. And actually has picked up a little bit more play because now it can be fetched with Urza Saga. It's not always like the Urza Saga target, but is an option in the Urza Saga decks. Has also been always an option in the Karn the Great Creator decks. They like to diversify everything in those Karn the Great Creator decks. They got like a Relic of Progenitus, they've got like a Tormod's Crypts, they got a little bit of everything. What makes Relic of Progenitus so good, however, is that, you know, you could target either you don't have to crack it. You can just weed away their graveyard little bit by little bit, which is relevant in some matchups. It's becoming actually a lot less relevant today than ever before because Dragon Rage Chandler fills the graveyard up way faster than Relic will exile it. With the Hearse, is Relic still good? Yes, because Relic is a 1-drop. Can be online immediately by... It can be like super online by turn 2, where you have the crack ability available, but Hearse can only exile 2 cards. But Hearse is a very good card. Hearse is a very good card. On Cephas says, honestly, I was never sold to run Relic over Spellbomb or Tormod's Crypt. Shadow Spear is understated. Wow, Shadow Spear is probably going to be a solid B or something like that. All right, as I prophesized, solid B. So I need to download this first. Need to download this. Where am I? Relic, right next to Stitcher Supplier. Stitcher Supplier is probably not happy hanging out with Relic here, though. Not happy at all. It's just shivering. Oh no, it's a Relic of Progenitus. It's gonna undo all my work. Alright, so in S tier, Ragavan. A tier, Esper Sentinel, Dragon Rage Chandler, Swift Spear, Amulet, Death Shadow, Ether Vault, Noble Hierarch. B tier, Giver of Runes, Expedition Map, Grave Crawler, Colossus Hammer, Pithing Needle, Goblin Guide, Stitcher Supply, Relic. C tier, Tieshaper, Hardened Scales, Headwind Crab, Abundant Growth, and in D tier, Vexing Devil. Not bad. I think chat did a pretty good job. And if you love these tier lists, give me more ideas for tier lists in the comments section below. We can do this on a regular basis. If you had fun, let me know. I had fun. Tier lists are fun. And it adds a random element when I let chat figure out what exactly is worth anywhere. A good bell curve economist would be... a good bell curve economist would be happy. Yeah, nothing is too skewed here. Balanced, as all things should be. Alright, as usual, we do this Monday to Friday, 8 o'clock a.m. Central Standard Time. Be there or be square if you want to be part of the action and if you want to be part of the engagement. Thank you so much, everyone, for supporting the channel with memberships and by donating with Super Chats. I appreciate all of you very much. So, thank you very much for showing up today because I'm not the show. You guys are the show. If it wasn't for all of you, we wouldn't have such a great discussion. So, keep brewing up those coffees, and we will keep brewing up the magic. Take care of yourselves, and I will see you